off to a nice start. Why does it have to be all or nothing all the time?
Like, what am I doing? I'm doing it for the show. Field of 68 till I die.
This is the Field of 68 After Dark show, the only place that you need to be for college hoops every single night.
We are live. It's the Field of 68 After Dark, and there is nowhere on earth that you should rather be than here with us to talk college hoops here on Thursday evening. There's a big weekend ahead. We've got the Big 12 SEC Challenge this weekend, so we had to bring our SEC guys on tonight for the show. We've got Patric Young here. We've got Jim Root here. My name is Greg Waddell, and it's going to be a fun one because while I mentioned the SEC, good basketball conference, first we got to talk about an okay basketball conference. That's the Big Ten. That's my territory. And the only surprise is that Terrence Oglesby wasn't forced to be here. If you followed along, normally we stick him with the Big Ten Knights, and he loves it so much. But tonight we get some new blood. Gentlemen, I'm excited to talk about it with you. Again, we are brought to you by Bet Rivers. We are live on Sirius XM channel 84. If you're watching us on the YouTube channel, we appreciate that. Jump in the comments. We'll answer your questions every single commercial break, and stick around after the show as well. We'll do the afters for 15 minutes where you can fire any sort of questions you want at both Jim, Patrick, and myself. All right, boys, let's jump right in. As I speak, we've got Purdue and Michigan down to the wire here. Purdue's held a steady lead for the entirety of the game, but there's just under 4 minutes left to play. 3-possession game. Weirder things have happened. Maybe I'm trying to will it into existence. Maybe I'm not. First, let's start with Michigan's rival, Michigan State. Another very back and forth game against Iowa tonight. The Spartans ultimately find a way, which happens a lot with Tom Izzo teams, and this felt like a pretty classic Tom Izzo win. Patrick, what'd you make of this one?
Well, I gotta start off here. You just start the show off with shots fired. Just all across the board. Just have them in the can and going at TO, going at the Big Ten. I'm just like, whoa. Hey, that is not. I may share some opinions with G Wizzy, but I won't just blatantly throw them out there to start the day off.
That's fair. That's fair. You can save your hot opinions for the afters. I just wanted to set the tone.
No, I want to ease the audience in. And then, give the hot takes as we go. But to your point, this was an awesome grit out win for State. I mean, you hold Chris Murray to 11 points and Ofer from the three-point line, guy that's been a first-team Big Ten all season long. Fantastic job. Defensively, you turn turnovers into points. That's what you have to do. Iowa was right there. I mean, literally, drawing up whatever they drew up at the last 8 seconds of the game, you get looks that you want to potentially win that game. 2 of them actually off of offensive rebound there as well. Shots didn't fall. Good to see Michigan State make some 3-pointers. I thought they weren't a 3-point making team at all at one point, but at home anything can happen. The rims are a little bit wider. Great statement win for Michigan State to build that resume.
Yeah, I like the final set, the jump pass to Peyton Sanford. It worked out. Jim, you like that one?
Oh, yeah. It's not somebody go at you and say it was a bad, poorly coached final possession. They got a great shot. I thought they got a great look to go for the win there.
Yeah, wholeheartly agree. I forget what the word was from one of the people in my mentions on Twitter tonight, but good set.
What's the debate there? Would you naturally call a timeout there or just keep going? Because Mississippi State was in a position last night where I really thought Chris Jans should have called a timeout to draw something up, and it was all an awful last set. And the player actually got confused and took a 2-pointer when it should have been a 3, and he's frustrated. I'm like, man, well, you could have drew something up.
Yeah, I thought they kind of did it right here. He let him run for a little bit to see if they had something quick. And eventually McCaffrey had the ball with 8 seconds left at the top of the key and was like, nope, we're not getting anything. So let's go to the huddle and figure it out.
Okay.
It's kind of personnel oriented there too, right? Like when you think of this Iowa team, Chris Murray, fantastic player, not necessarily a guy who's just going to say, give me the ball, get out of the way. Let me go get one here. So I like that from Fran as well. And ultimately, I mean, dials up arguably his best shooter, 2 wide open chances to win the game. For the record, he hit not only those 2, he hit a third in the final 90 seconds to beat my Michigan Wolverines. couldn't hit the open one tonight to steal it at the Breslin Center, but them's the breaks, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk a little bigger picture with this Michigan State team, though, because it's a pretty polarizing team, especially within Michigan State circles themselves. Obviously, pretty much all Michigan State teams take on the personality of Tom Izzo at some point in the season. I think the backcourt, especially, you can feel the quote unquote dog in them nature of AJ Hoggard and Tyson Walker this year. In most of their good wins, those two have been brilliant, both eye test wise and production wise. Tonight was not the case. I thought this was a pretty poor game from the Michigan State backcourt, and it's really one of the first games this season that they've won when that backcourt has not played well. Jim, what do you make of that?
Welcome back, Malik Hall. That feels like a big part of that. I don't know where that came from. We had the quotes earlier this week from Izzo that he was a ways away and wasn't going to be ready to go. And then suddenly pregame, he was warming up. He's out there, he's playing, and he was a huge contributor. I didn't think he'd be able to give him 25 good minutes, but he did. And you get that extra offensive option that takes some of that burden off of Hoggard and Walker. They're constantly the ones that are having to make plays, but they got a couple plays made for them. I know Hoggard hit a 3 off of Malik Hall offensive rebound, really high activity level for him. And the on-off number stuff for Hall over the course of the season is staggering. Like Hoop Explorer and Hoop Lens have them about 15 points better per 100 possessions when he's out there. Just really adds an extra element. You can play smaller if you want to, or even when you're bigger, you've got more versatility, and he's a great shooter. So Patrick, I think with him back, I'm really buying Michigan State. Like most of their poor performances have been when they're shorthanded without him. And when he's in there, that team's really tough.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on just the instant impact, let alone. I just wonder if when you have such a poor shooting night with your guards, overall 39% shooting night from the field. And I'm looking, I'm a big numbers guy in the sense of what's the big picture here? 5 of 17 from layups, and understand there's a lot of the contested baskets there, but it shows that there are quality looks getting into for this state team, just not falling. And who can be more somebody reliable to get to the hoop and to finish? And Malik Hall was that guy today. Someone coming off the bench that there was nobody that had a spectacular game. 10, 12, 11, 10, 7, 11 points. So that bringing that extra boost, those 11 points was the difference maker.
Yeah, there were a lot of guys on the periphery of this Michigan State team, role player types that I thought excelled tonight. Mady Sissoko being one of them, a double-double in 26 minutes. He's been really, really struggling over the last 2 weeks. He had the big games early in the season against Gonzaga in the Champions Classic, where he's up against 2 of the best centers in the country, and Drew Timme and Oscar Tshiebwe. And I don't want to say he held his own, because those guys still did what they do, but he looked like a Big Ten starting center in those games. He was not punked. He was not forced out by physicality with Oscar. He at least hit the boards and held up production-wise against Timme. That hasn't been there in the first half of Big Ten play. So for them to get 26 minutes from him tonight, that was critical, because then you don't have to turn to the freshman bigs, Kohler and Cooper, who at this point just don't look ready for this type of conference. And then the other guy is Jaden Akins. I mean, you talk about backcourt stuff. He's a guy that has really now in his sophomore year been pushed out of position, in my opinion, down to the wing, where most of the time he's guarding the opposing team's best bigger wing. I think he's a guy who could be really dynamic with the ball in his hands. He had a couple good driving kicks tonight, 12 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. So when you're getting that type of production from the extra guys, that's when Michigan State becomes dangerous to me. When they're really just a two-headed monster of Hoggard and Walker, that's when I kind of roll my eyes a little bit. But then again, with Tom Izzo, you can never really count them out, right, Pat? Because we've seen this. I mean, now what? This is 20 plus years of Tom Izzo teams start to just creep along, and maybe they're under the radar, and all of a sudden things start clicking end of January, early February.
Tournament Tom. I just right now with AJ Hoggard and Tyson, I love what they bring to the table, and especially when you're looking at Coach Izzo, what he's bringing out of those guys. I just don't think there are a dynamic enough backcourt within themselves to dominate, to make the tournament. Absolutely. those extra pieces are essential for a Tom Izzo type team that's going to grit like these games in the 60s. That is right now with a team that doesn't shoot it so well from the three. That's what you're looking for. Those grit out games. Every game that State's been in has been fairly close. I mean, they're just so close from stealing that early game against Gonzaga, just right there. And that's why I was thinking about when we were talking about our segments for tonight. It's like has State shown that they're trending in the right direction enough to be that tournament team to make a run to finish top 5 in the Big Ten? And I believe so. I believe so, especially with Malik Hall on his way back and showing what he did tonight, seeing that they can knock down the 3-point ball, seeing that they can defend without fouling. But man, side note, I am so baffled with the block charge call, and I'm sure we all are. But I have just been so frustrated this season. I don't even know what to think anymore. I would have fouled out every single game, and I don't know what I would have done. I just had to get that out because it's just been so frustrating to watch this whole season.
Yeah, let's flip to the Iowa side briefly of this. Iowa team that has had ups and downs, much like really any Big Ten team has this season. They looked pretty damn good when they blew out Iowa State earlier this year, especially now looking back. That's a pretty big resume win. Then they had the whole Patric McCaffrey leave of absence. You think that's going to be a nail in the coffin for this team. He's such a critical player to everything that they do. Instead, they rattle off a win streak, really come together. The resolve of that team to keep winning games in light of him taking a step back was very impressive to me. He still is not with the team. I certainly thought they missed him tonight, but this is now back-to-back road games for Iowa. 16-point loss at Ohio State, and then a heartbreaker tonight at the Breslin Center. Jim, is that just road life in conference play, or is that something that should be a little more concerning for Iowa?
I think generally the losses, I'm not worried about them. Just like in general, like you're saying, it's road life in conference play. That's tough. What's kind of troubling a little bit is the offense. Like they played one other game this year where both teams were in the 60s. Like Michigan State really dragged them down into the mud. Chris Murray didn't score after the first 15 seconds in the second half. Like no field goals after that. Michigan State, great job taking him out. Then even late into it, they had 59 points with 4:40 left, and then they got a bucket in the final 30 seconds to cut it to 2. That was it. Like 2 points in the final 4:30 for an offense that high powered. That's kind of an issue. That's more the concern for me. Some of the micro stuff taking away from this game rather than just losing 2 road games. I get it. That's all right. But there are some things there that I think raise my eyebrow. They've got to find a way to get Chris Murray better shots.
Yeah. Do you guys view Chris obviously he's not Keegan. Keegan at this point last year, I think, was National Player of the Year contender. We had a lot of conversations about that. I don't think anyone would put Chris in that category, but do you view him close in caliber? Like he's going to be an NBA first-round pick. It left a little bit to be desired, his performance for me tonight, and give Michigan State credit, but I think he's capable of more, right, Pat?
Yeah, I think he's capable of more. Would you say he has just that dog in him? It's a little bit more of a finesse, which is fine. Everyone to each his own. It is basketball nowadays, especially college basketball, is an offensive players league where you just, except for the charge call that I'm going to keep bringing up. I think he is. It's always going to be a transition getting to that NBA level, but you got to think. You got to think potential wise. What is the ceiling, especially when you can stretch the floor? If Chandler Parsons can make $80 million by being a great 3-point shooter at his size, I think Chris Murray has a chance to do the same.
Greg, you said it. You said he's not like a guy that demands the ball as much, and I thought Keegan had a little more alpha to him with all right, I'm going to get this. And Keegan had more of a on the block game or mid post even where he could get it and kind of bully ball guys to the rim. Chris's finesse for sure. And just more perimeter. He wants to shoot the ball a little bit more than Keegan, whereas Keegan was in and out. Not the same player, but I mean, certainly all conference caliber and no shame in the numbers he's putting up this year.
Yeah, none at all. Really, really fun player to watch, as was his brother. If you talk to anybody around the Iowa program, they like to joke about how different the personalities are. That was a big conversation starter last week. And I think you see that sort of show up in the way they play, as crazy as that sounds. But yeah, I guess I'm just fascinated to watch where Iowa goes from here, because I like the roster in theory a ton. I don't really like their ceiling as potentially anything beyond just to make the NCAA tournament team, unless Chris Murray really gets more aggressive and really does become like a no doubt 20-25 a game a guy. And I think he has been that for stretches of the season. I don't think he has been that consistently enough for them to compete in this Big Ten conference. As I speak, by the way, Michigan just banked in a 3 with 5 seconds left. They are now down 3 points. There's a lot of people out there that probably went to our friends at Bet Rivers that are very concerned about these impending Brandon Newman free throws. The spread on this game was
baby.
Bad beats. The spread on this game was Purdue -5, I believe. And, depending on the half a point here or there, you may have gotten a different number. Newman makes the first. I'll do some live commentary here. They are now up 4 with 5 seconds left. It appears that Purdue is going to steal a win there. We will be live on SiriusXM as soon as this game ends. So we will officially talk about Michigan-Purdue as soon as this game wraps. And he nails it. So Purdue up 5 minutes left. We'll see what Michigan can do with a heave here at the buzzer. They actually get a really nice 3-pointer off of it, and Joey Baker misses. So a push, ladies and gentlemen, everyone's favorite moment in sports betting. Cheers to that. All right, let's move to Michigan and Purdue.
Okay.
So Michigan needed this win. I mean, I'm a Michigan fan. I'll look you dead in the eyes. They desperately needed a resume statement boosting win. They are nowhere close to the bubble right now. And from my eyes, this was not a game that they can even say, ooh, we almost had that one, even though it results in a 5-point game. It felt like they were kept at arm's length away the entire night by the best team in this conference and maybe the best team in the country. Jim, is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I definitely agree that it wasn't like in question. It was kind of 8 to 10 points the whole way. They never really made the run to tie it through that second half. It was arm's length, like you said. The Purdue best team in the country. I'm gonna pause that a little. Since they lost their one game to Rutgers, they have played Michigan without Jet Howard, Minnesota without Carrington, and Battle got hurt. Granted, that was a blowout the whole way. Michigan State without Hall, Nebraska without Gary and Griesel, full strength Penn State. All right. And then Ohio State, Zed Key got hurt 4 minutes in. So they have been getting teams in vulnerable situations, not full strength.
They're all soft. That's what that is.
Yeah. Can't handle the rigors of the Big Ten.
I'm going to jump in, boys. We're going live in 5 seconds here on Sirius XM. We are officially live on Sirius XM channel 84. We thank you for joining us. If you were listening to the end of Michigan Purdue, we're jumping in and talking about Michigan Purdue right now here on the Field of 68 After Dark. I'm Greg Waddell. I've got Patrick Young. I've got Jim Root with me. I'm going to throw it to Patrick now. We just kind of briefly were going around the horn on this game before.
You said Jim was bringing up some good stuff.
Jim was cooking. We'll go back to Jim. Yeah, ball in our best player's hands here, Jim. What did you make of the finish of this game?
Cooking.
Oh, that is not the best player's hands, but I'll take it. Purdue has had some fortunate circumstances of late. Basically, all their last 7 opponents have had somebody out, key guy out. Now, you beat who's in front of you. They've done that. No taken away from that. But I think it is fair to have questions about, is this the best team? They've got one loss. Like, sure, that the resume looks great, but if they were playing all these full strength teams, maybe it wouldn't be one loss at this point. It was fun to watch tonight, though, Pat. You're a post player. We got a little bit of one-on-one with Dickinson and Edey. Those guys actually got to cover each other instead of get constantly doubled. So I enjoyed watching that. They did throw some doubles late. Had to figure it out, but I thought it was kind of a good one to watch, something different for both these sides. Yeah.
You bring up some good points, and Purdue is number 1 team in the country, 1 loss, and this is not. There's no team that I can say just stands out. I mean, you have Zach Edey. He's a player that I think when we call him Shaq Edey. He's not Shaq quite yet. I want him to take on that personality because he had comments, I think, early in this game that I don't need to score 30 and 15. Zach, try to score 30 and 15 every night. give everyone problems. I just want you to see you be that dominant of a player, because it opens up so many doors for everyone else. It solidifies you being the player of the year and a player that we're going to talk about, that we would talk about for a long time. But I just don't see them right now being or any team being a complete dominant. I mean, I look at Alabama yesterday, and they looked extremely vulnerable. I don't think they will beat a Purdue. They don't have a post presence to stop anyone like Zach Edey to even contend. Once that ball touches the paint, in general, they're in trouble. But I really, it is toast of the night, or in my mind, thinking of Fletcher Lawyer. Goodness gracious, he does not look like a freshman. He finds a way to really help this team, bring them to another level. Because Zach, he's done a great job, and I'm curious, because Juwan Howard, there's just so many things. I was really locked into this game. Juwan was adamant that those twos that Zach Edey's making aren't going to kill us, so we can live with those. You decide to start trapping late. He was dominating Hunter Dickinson and made him look like a child at certain points, but Hunter held his own. He wasn't super efficient. He had some bunnies, I say bunnies, but some around the basket that didn't fall. But I'm just, there were no digs. Juwan said, we got to do a better job of digging. And I'm like, there's no dig if a guy catches the ball 2 feet deep in the paint. there's no opportunity. But then later in the game, second half, those double teams did look very effective. Zach it wasn't super easy for him to get it out. So just curious your take on what that's going to look like for them, for Purdue in the future. Because Michigan, if Jett Howard was in this game, I believe, even though his defense has always been kind of in question this year, I think this is a different game. Because overall, 6 turnovers for the game. That's it. They were right there. Just didn't have enough juice on the offensive side to convert and finish this one out.
Yeah, so I'm going to jump in. We're actually going to cut to break. Out of break, we will answer PY's question. We'll come back to Michigan Purdue next on the Field of 68 After Dark.
You're clear.
All right, we are on break on Sirius, but we are still live here on After Dark in the YouTube channel. Dagan, anything going on in the chat?
There are a ton of questions. I can go back and find some comments.
Sure.
We have Doster calling Purdue the luckiest team in America now, taking over as the new Providence. Thoughts on that? After their, I don't know, whatever. He has his weird campaign.
He's stirring the pot.
Yeah.
That Doster.
Can you be the luckiest team in America when you have the best player in America?
He also said that's not him. It was Jim, is what he said.
Yeah, no. I just said they've gotten some breaks with who's been in the lineup. They're still dominant.
I
don't hate Purdue.
Yeah, Jim, to your point, I mean, that's a little coincidence there that they just happen to, a very important integral player on each team they played the last few weeks is not been able to play.
Yeah. The resume is, you can't take away from it, but we'll see going forward. I don't think they go like 19-1 in the Big Ten. I think there's some losses coming.
Here's a good one for us because it's going to lead us into our next segment
30
after
seconds.
Purdue, of course. So answer this quickly. Is UCLA overrated?
Yes.
Ooh.
No for me.
There you go.
You can explain it here at the end in the next block, but I just want your.
Yeah, we'll get to this. Did we get Pat's answer on that?
We have not.
Oh, I think so.
Okay.
Ooh,
I just thought they'd be better.
10 seconds.
I like
Just
this.
be better.
Yeah, I'm with there. We can play the schedule game with
That's
UCLA
it.
too. We'll do that coming
Here
up.
we go. 3, 2.
Welcome back. It's the Field of 68 After Dark Thursday night edition. We are just wrapping up Purdue and Michigan, and we're going to break that game down just a little bit more. We're also going to talk UCLA. They blew it. They melted down. This is the second time this season they've done so against USC. We're here to explain what happened and why. I'm Greg Waddell. We've got Jim Root. We've got Patrick Young here as well. We've got producer Dagan behind the scenes and producer Kono on the ones and twos. Shout out to Kono bringing the music back for us. Let's dive right back into Michigan Purdue. Pat, you brought up a good point. Jett Howard's not here tonight. Michigan played a pretty clean game, 6 turnovers. On the season, they've been a very good team taking care of the ball. That hasn't been one of their issues. They've got many issues, but tonight I thought they got an A performance from Hunter Dickinson. an A performance from Kobe Buffkin, that's where you would start if you were going to try to pull an upset against the number one team in the country. Jim, what do you think? Was this just a don't have Jet Howard, don't have enough horses to get this done game?
Yeah, I kind of think so. I think they would have been right in it. I mean, they hung around for a while without him, and he's a huge offensive weapon for them. Spaces the floor, has been, I think, even better than people thought entering the year. So not having him kind of hurt. I want to do a quick ode to my guy, Ethan Morton. I think he's really emerged as a key piece for Purdue. I've started to love watching him play. Kind of a smart ball mover, great defender. And when he hits shots, like he hit a couple tonight, he becomes invaluable for them, gives them a little more size, that playmaking position. Not quite Sasha Stefanovic, but he is a nice little piece for them. And given the defensive contributions, like he's one of the best, like, fast break defenders. He knows how to play straight up. He'll get his hands in there. He won't foul. He had a couple of those tonight where he saved them on fast break. So a little ode to Morton. Pat, I'll let you take it on whether you think Jet Howard would have totally swung the outcome on this, but just wanted to shout him out.
Well, I think his score was 26-28, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with the kill shot. Purdue goes on a 15-0 run. Right at that point, it was 41. It was 26-28. Then it went 41-28, and I think that really is the highlight of what just. And if for fans that don't know, a kill shot, what I've learned from Todd Golden, is a 10-0 run. You want to strive to get a 10-0 run. I don't know the analytics behind it, but there is some great power behind that. Stopping 10-0 runs and producing your very own. And when you can have a 15-0 run and then to start the second half with a quick 5-0 run, Michigan just didn't have anything to stop the bleeding there. Turnovers weren't a huge problem, but just in that 15-0 run, I think there were 3 or 4 that just really push you at a deficit. It's hard to come back when you barely have enough time left to find flow. Hunter, this would have been one of those games that I think Hunter would have had to go for 30. Jet Howard definitely would have helped break that 15-0 run and made this game. But still, a 5-point loss without your best scorer. Hunter played really well. Wasn't the most efficient. Had some bunnies around the basket, but I was really proud. I mean, if you don't know him, but proud the way that he played against Zach Edey, even though Edey still made him look like a child at some possessions. But yeah, that's just the thing that stands out to me. I'm like, dang, 15-0 run. That's really hard to come back from in the middle of a game, especially at home.
You know what Hunter would have needed to do tonight, in my opinion? What Trace Jackson Davis has done for about the last 2 weeks. I mean, it's not saying anyone should expect him to do that because that's how good Trace has been. But you need like an extraterrestrial performance, given the state of this Michigan roster. And I don't mean to throw shots at anybody, but you lost Jalen Llewellyn, your grad transfer point guard you expect to start all year. You've got a true freshman in Doug McDaniel back there now who can be great in moments, can be really, really sporadic and bad in other moments. You've got Joey Baker, who's never had to play this big of a role, is what he needed to do tonight. And he hit a bunch of threes late to end up approaching a 5-point game, but it was too little too late. And then you've got a bunch of guys who don't belong in a playing rotation or weren't in Michigan's playing rotation until guys got hurt. So you're looking at your superstar who needs to go out and probably more than what you said, Pat. He probably needed like 35 and 20 tonight to keep this close.
Right there. It was just a bunch just didn't fall for him. He had a lot of in and outs, man. I mean, it's
right. And that's basketball. And
basketball.
The one thing I would say on Purdue, and then we'll move to UCLA and USC here. The thing that astounds me about them is how much guys are okay with watching Zach Edey and watching the integral guys eat in this offense. Like Caleb First tonight had 1 point and 1 rebound, and the guy affected the basketball game in a positive way. I don't know how many guys in college basketball can do that. And they're just a really unselfish team. They're a team that just wants to win the damn game. They will never complain about how many times they're just going to throw the ball into the best player in the country. They're just going to keep getting him the rock. It's really special, and I give Matt Painter a bunch of credit for doing it. Let's move to the Pac-12 now, where UCLA, stop us if you've heard this before, had a huge halftime lead on USC. This time, the result was not what it was the first time. If you remember back, UCLA blew that game. It was tied. It exchanged leads, and then UCLA wrangled it back to win the first time. Tonight, not the case. USC actually wins by 13 points after being down 37-25 at halftime. USC pours 52 points in the second half and wins this game 77-64. Jim, we'll go to you first. Does this result say more about UCLA or does it say more about USC?
It says a lot about this rivalry. I feel like it's hard to run away in these two. You go back a few games between USC, UCLA, and they're constantly close. The concerning part is the second half. I think fairly highly of Mick Cronin as a coach, but that's twice in a row. Enfield's run circles around him in the second half. So the combined 40 minutes of the 2 second halves, UCLA with 39 points in 40 minutes of basketball, that's terrible. Considering how prolific they looked in the first half. Really concerning. I still like the makeup of that roster, given the senior point guard and a go-to scorer in Jaquez and some high upside freshmen with Bailey and Bona. But you have to kind of take a look in the mirror. Coming off a loss, up double digits at half, you can't lose that game. That concerns me. I've thought very highly of UCLA recently, but given what we saw tonight, I have to take some second thoughts on the Bruins.
Second half basketball there for UCLA. I want to know what Andy Enfield said to Boogie Ellis, because yes, 52 points for USC in the second half, 27 from Boogie. Goodness gracious. What do you 10 coming from the free throw line? And I looking at how did UCLA respond in that second half after having a great first half. You can't have your point guard, and I love Tyson Campbell, love him to death. Love his hair. Who can't love that hairstyle? Three of your starters go without a field goal in the second half, and your point guard has 3 turnovers. Eight turnovers in the second half, leading to 15 easy basket, live ball turnovers, leading to 15 points for USC. Got to find a way to stop the bleeding. And when you have a team with such experience and veteran leadership, being able to find a way to first off defend, and that's the thing. When we look at a team when we look at the tournament matchups, what is the weakness? Usually the weakness is a guy that's just a game breaker, and that's Boogie Ellis. Gets to the line, knocks down the 3, creates his own shot. I mean, what can you do with that? You can run any type of set, and if you can't stop a guy like that and you can't score enough points, your season's going to end early, and it's just going to be a disappointment, especially when you have a roster as such for UCLA with the expectations. I won't sell UCLA. I think they're too talented, but I'm not going all in on them as of yet.
Yeah, if this was last year, we'd be playing the "Are we sure this team's good?" game when they had the magical March run from the play-in to the Final Four. Then the next year, it's like, okay, maybe that was just a run, right? We don't know if this team's good. We want to see it again. This year, it's like, okay, this is year 3 of the Tiger Campbell, Jaime Jaquez core. You love those two. Critical game result tonight for the Pac-12 conference, because there are 4 teams sitting behind UCLA right now with 3 losses in the standings: USC, Utah, Arizona, Arizona State. UCLA in the last week has gone from undefeated in the Pac-12 to all of a sudden a half game or a full game ahead of those teams, depending on how many games have been played, with back-to-back losses at Arizona and USC. If they could have stolen one of those, you still feel like they've got a stranglehold on the conference. Now, not so much. One quick thing I want to ask you guys, and then we got to go to break. I'm not going to go the full-blown sell, but Dagan asked us in break, is UCLA overrated? I said yes. Here's why. You look at their schedule. Are we sure they've beaten any team that's going to make the NCAA tournament yet? Genuinely. Their best win is what? USC at home, and they almost blew a 20-point lead? Like, they lost to Illinois. They lost to Baylor. They got Maryland. Kentucky might not make the tournament. We don't know.
Kentucky is going to make the tournament. Hey, and we're going to get into it later. Let's see what happens this Saturday. I'm telling you. There's a lot on the line. lot on the line that game.
That's a good tease, PY. Jim, you're giving me a look though. Like you could make a case they haven't beaten an NCAA tournament team.
Yeah, maybe, but some of they've beaten teams away from home, like at Maryland. Maryland's running teams.
Oh,
in the
they
Big
beat
Ten
the brakes off of Maryland. That was embarrassing.
Yeah, just destroyed them. Then went up to New York right after that and kind of controlled Kentucky for 40 minutes. So Kentucky wasn't who they are now, but still an impressive win. They don't have the like super top of the line head your resume, and they're not going to get many chances for that. Like not beating Illinois, Baylor, and Arizona takes that away. They will get Arizona. They only play Arizona once. That's what are you doing? Oh no, they got them at the end of the year. Sorry, finale of the season. That's going to be the big one for UCLA. Put that at the top of your resume, and maybe you can climb up to that 2 seed, potential 1 seed discussion. But right now, with this losing skid, it is a little bit concerning. Given I thought Campbell and Hawkins would be such steadying forces for them, and we didn't see that in the second half at all.
The Pac-12
couple games. Ooh, I like that energy, Pat. I like it a lot. A couple. Yeah, you said pre-show. You didn't want to get spicy pre-show, and I'm out here dissing the Big Ten. But now mid-show, we can diss the Pac-12 a little bit.
That's the real weakness right there. Big Ten's fine. Big Ten's fine.
I like it. You're speaking my language. Well, a couple get right games, I would call it, for UCLA next week. They've got Washington at home, Washington State at home. Hopefully they can win those two. We can talk about them in a more positive light after that. Coming up, we're going to play one of my many games that I forced the Field of 68 network to play. We're going to play a game of call, fold, or all in as we become gambling men and break down 5 of the most divisive teams in the sport of college basketball. That's next on the Field of 68 After Dark.
You're clear.
Dagan, what do you got for us?
This one was specifically for Patrick, but I'm going to open it to the whole crew.
Oh, no.
How many SEC teams make the tournament?
Oh, man.
Everybody get counting. Here we go.
Right. Like I got to do math now. What do you? Come on. I was
As
told
of
that
right
wouldn't be
now,
involved.
as of right now, in the bunker, Joe Lenardi has said that there's 6 in. A&M, Texas A&M is first 4 out, and Florida is under consideration. I don't think Arkansas is going to make it. I don't know.
Wait. We don't think Arkansas is going to make the tournament?
Yeah, man. I don't know. I'm not sold, man. I'm not sold on them not having Nick Smith Jr. has killed me, and Trevor Brazile from a team that I thought was going to be top 10. And this is not any hate. I just don't think they have the offense, and their defense isn't as great as it was last year.
Well, I'll have you know that our bracketologists have Arkansas as an 8 seed, and we also have 6 SEC teams in at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's going
Kentucky,
to be right
Kentucky won the last 4 in.
One last one. I think we're going to be right at 6. I think we're right at 6. And I'm curious how it's going to play out.
20 seconds
with Auburn, Missouri, Arkansas, and Florida. Those are my question marks.
Jim,
10.
Missouri going to make it?
They're going to make it. Come on. My Tigers. Big win coming this Saturday.
Just had to check in.
I ain't going to lie. They about to get the brakes beat off.
Welcome back. It's the Field of 68 After Dark, Thursday, January 26th. A night of Big Ten basketball. A night with Jim Root, Patrick Young, and my name is Greg Waddell. If you're watching us on the YouTube channel, click subscribe, jump in the comments. We will answer your questions every single commercial break and after the show in the afters, our 15 minutes where we do our toast of the night after the show wraps. We are live on SiriusXM Channel 84. We are brought to you by Bet Rivers, and it is time for my favorite segment of the show. It's time to play Call, Fold, or All In. I am obviously a betting man. Jim Root is obviously a betting man. Patrick Young, are you a betting man?
Not really.
So you're just playing along with us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I play along, but I know how to play blackjack.
You're a team guy. That's what that tells me.
Yeah.
You're a yes coach. I'll do whatever you need from me tonight. I appreciate that.
I'll take that guy out.
This might be the only time you're ever in a setting with me and Jim, and we ask you to be a role player, Pat. Let's just call it that.
Yeah.
All right. So I've got 5. I've got 5 of the more. I said it before. I've got 5 of the more divisive teams in the country. Teams that I think it wouldn't be crazy to say that you think they can win a national championship. It would not be crazy to say you think this team is horrible and will be one and done in the NCAA tournament. So my premise to you, I'll give you a team, and then I want you to tell me if you are calling, which means you still like them, you want to see a little more. If you are folding, which means you are absolutely done, throw them in the trash. Or if you are all in, it doesn't matter what has happened. It doesn't matter what will happen. You're riding or dying with this team, and you think you can win a national championship. Let's start with Rob Doster's own UConn Huskies. The Huskies are 5-6 in Big East play after 11-0 in the non-conference. There's a lot wrong with them right now. Pat, let's go to you first. Are you calling folding, or are you all in on UConn?
I don't like that. Quite for a national championship. That's what's at stake.
National title.
Fold.
You don't have to say they're going to do it, but you have to say you believe it could happen to be all in.
I believe. I will call. I believe that a team that was so explosive and early on, it can be at the flip of a switch. If UConn could do it, and this I'm talking back in with who's our guy, who was the coach that just Jim Calhoun with the Kemba Walker team that wasn't even going to make the tournament and went on a crazy run. I believe crazier things have happened, have they not? And I'm going to call. I'm not going to go all in, not even, and I won't fold up. Won't give it up on them either. But the Big East that's been some great basketball. Those are some fun games to watch. So fans, if you're not watching those games, I don't think you like basketball. You're missing out.
They're fantastic. Some of the best ones. Every Marquette game, I think, is must watch. But Greg, I'm folding. Take my cards. I'm out on UConn. Guard play is not good enough. I know Rob is going to push for that second half kind of reshaping of the offense where they turned it over to Jordan Hawkins last night. And I think that's the best option. You play him at the 2. There's just a little too much Diarra, Aline, Calcaterra on this team. And I don't know who gets a bucket late in games.
Not
you can't play through your big in tournaments. Yeah, not Diarra. Stop trying to make Hassan Diarra happen. That's what I say. So yeah, I'm folding. I'm out on UConn. I don't like the juju around them. I don't like the backcourt play outside of Hawkins.
Wow. You might have just swung me. I was fully ready to call, but that was such a great breakdown of it. I think I'm ready to fold. But by the way, Calcaterra, wasn't he fun for like a month? And now it's kind of like, I don't know. Like that
logo. What happened?
Yeah, something fell off there. I'm gonna jump on board with Jim Root. I'm gonna hitch my wagon to Jim Root, and we are going to fold on the UConn Huskies. Let's go back to my Big Ten. This is a team I got to see in person a couple weeks ago in Champaign, the Illinois Fighting Illini. 5-1 in their last 6 games. Coincidentally, 5-1 since a certain freshman point guard transferred out of the program. Jim, you buying? Well, not buying. You calling? You folding? Or are you all in on the Illini?
I'm chips in. I'm all in on Illinois. I really like the structure of the team now that Clark's out. I think the pecking order makes a lot more sense. And since preseason, I've been saying this team is structured more for postseason success. Last year really built around one big, could kind of only play one way with Kofi. A lot more malleability, lineup options here. You can go big with Danger. He gives them that presence, or you can go smaller, play through a big wing and Shannon, or you can go through some of the freshman guards. And maybe you get Luke Goody back and add another perimeter weapon coming up here. I'm in on Illinois. I think they're going to trend up late in the year and into the postseason. Pat?
I'm continuing to you're quite convincing, Jim. And I have turned my attention to this Illinois team, especially with seeing what Matt Meyer has been doing as of late. Started off extremely slow. Been shooting. I think he was scoring like 5 points a game at a stretch to 15 per game, 40% from 3. I just flipped the script on his game completely. Dane Danger, man, I didn't expect him, and especially against Michigan State. Anybody against Michigan State, the bigs are just going to give it to you. Sure. I'm going to call. I'm not going to go all in. I'm going to call them to at least be Sweet 16 team, not national championship.
I want to be right there with you, Pat. I want to call, except calling is the least Illinois thing you can do with this team. You either have to be the hottest team in the country or the coldest team. Like there is no middle ground with Illinois. Either they're great or they're horrible. In light of that, I actually have to convince myself to fold here, and I don't feel good about it. I give Brad Underwood a ton of credit for making big picture changes. You look at his rosters the last 3 seasons, I think Last year, he said it was Andre Carbelo's team all offseason. And then a month later, he was essentially out of the rotation. This year, he's done the same, I think. He's managed situations that are going to put his team in a better position to be successful. The thing I don't trust is Brad Underwood to make decisions on the fly in a game when it's a dogfight of a game. He has not necessarily shown that yet. So single elimination in March, I'm going to fold until I see Brad Underwood make a little run himself. I got to be skeptical. Let's move out west where we have Gonzaga. They've been playing with fire for a month at this point. They lost to Loyola Marymount at home. That seemed like the well-breaking moment for this team. Pat, let's go to you first. Call, fold, or all in on the Zags?
Fold. I'm just going with my gut. I just haven't seen it. That there was obviously all the hype around. Just the guard play's not there. Just not shooting the ball well enough to be a team to contend. And I can't believe they lost at home. Broke that streak. We know these streaks and records are meant to be broken, but that just head scratcher. I wouldn't want to touch the Zags this year. I still think they obviously a tournament team. I would win a few games. I getting out the first weekend, but I think with the right matchup, even a mid-major, if they match up with a Big East team, I think they don't stand a chance.
Yep, I'm folding as well. The defense isn't good. It's the worst Mark Few's had in like over a decade at Gonzaga. This is the first time since 2016 that they've dropped in KenPom during WCC play. Typically, they just dominate. And I know it's a better league this year, but look what St. Mary's is doing to the same league. Like they're destroying everybody, and Gonzaga is decidedly not. Guard play is still a little bit of a question mark, and there's no rim protection without Chet Holmgren. They haven't recovered without him. I'm out on this Gonzaga team. I don't really think they'll make the Sweet 16.
Yeah, guys, I can't believe I'm going to say it. I'm going to call on Gonzaga right now. All the signs are there that you should fold. Jim, I love the stat that they've actually gone down in conference play. That's stunning. I don't know that they're going to get there. I don't know that this is going to be a strategic adjustment, but could I please dial up more Malachi Smith, though? We talked 50, 40, 90 club. The guy's 53, 54, 83 right now club. That's a crazy club. And he's playing 20 minutes a game. I don't trust the backcourt, but I kind of want to see a little more of him. And wouldn't it just be fitting if this is the Gonzaga team that does sort of somehow get over the hump? Like they don't lose too early in March with Drew Timme this year and just I could see it. That's all I'm saying. I don't know how I can see it, but I could see it. Let's move to one final team here and then we'll go to break. This is a cold team right now. It's the Kansas Jayhawks. I can't believe we're even asking this. They were in contention to be the number one team in the country. They're on a 3-game losing streak for the first time since 2013. And gentlemen, their schedule in the next 2 weeks at Kentucky, home against Kansas State, at Iowa State, where nobody's won this season, and then home against Texas. This could continue spiraling. Jim, are you calling, folding, or all in on the Jayhawks?
Calling Kansas. Excuse me, calling. I've been folder all in. I'm going to finally take a fence-sitting position here. The shooting still concerns me a little bit, but the 2 through 4 matchup problems that they have with Wilson, Dick, and McCullough, that's not going anywhere. I think it's going to be really tough to deal with in a postseason setting with sort of limited time to prepare. Got a great point guard in Harris who just needs to figure things out. He's had a really rough stretch as the team has. But I think the defense is real, and the fact that they have multiple playmakers and scorers at least has me interested. So I'm waiting and seeing here, PY.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you there with calling, but this brutal stretch is coming up. But the Big 12 has been unbelievable league this year, and I'm putting my call in because I trust Bill Self. I trust that he's going to be able to flip the script with his team to make those in-game. I'm really looking forward to this game. Obviously, we're gonna, as I said earlier, we're gonna got a lot of stuff to get into for this upcoming game this Saturday. But I'm gonna call the Jayhawks. I still think with what they've been able to do and prove, the Big 12 is just so deep that nobody was going to get. I think it's projected that KenPom projected the winner of the league is going to be 12-6 around there. So you knew Kansas, somebody was going to go get beat up in this league, especially with how good Iowa State is right now, being a top 5 team. And Kansas State. I'm going to go with the call.
Yeah, I want to fold this roster, but Pat nailed it for me. You got to call it because Bill Self's coaching it. You never know what's going to happen with a Bill Self team. The only thing I would push back on, Jim, Is DeJuan Harris a great point guard? Are we sure? Do great point guards go for 5 points and 13 turnovers in a 4-game stretch where they lose 3 of 4?
Yeah, that's hard to. I don't have much rebuttal to that. It's been really bad. It's been a rough stretch.
That's not a tough stretch.
It's been bad. And look, he's been great at other stretches, but this is, you want to point fingers at why is this going so poorly? There's one finger I would point right there. All right, coming up, we're going to talk Big 12 SEC Challenge, starting with Kansas, Kentucky, but moving beyond it to Texas, Tennessee as well. That's next on the Field of 68 After Dark.
Claire.
Dagan, what do we got? Chat mob, talk to me.
I had one and I lost it. There's been a lot going on in the chat. Let me go back and see if I can find it. I'll give you one in the meantime, though. Give me a sleeper, a mid-major sleeper that you guys like this season. St. Mary's does count. We'll count St. Mary's. So you guys go answer that one, then we can move on.
Does any mid-major count? If we're counting St. Mary's, it's anybody, right?
I mean,
seems fair.
Yeah,
Sure.
That seems fair. So I can pick any. I'm going New Mexico. Jalen House mashed. Like, I love that backcourt so much. I can't get enough of it.
They got size. I'll go FAU. I'm gonna.
Hey, that's what I was gonna say.
My bad.
1 minute.
I'm gonna sing their praises in 3 cheers. I'm saving some of my my takes on them for that, but I love the Owls. Love watching them, and I think they're legit.
Is Marquette mid-major?
No. You can keep FAU. You can keep FAU. You don't have to.
Yeah, just echo FAU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, actually, say Marquette again. Somebody clip that.
That'll
That was
stir
great.
the pot.
That was great.
All right, here we go. Bigger March run or deeper March run. The Mountain West or the ACC?
30 seconds.
God, got to say ACC. I think there's better backcourts there. I do love Mountain West, but the history is poor. I like those teams, but it's hard to make a case what they've done in the tournament in recent years.
ACC,
Yeah, I think
you
that's the
have to.
obvious answer.
Yeah,
10 seconds.
you got multiple shots at it with the ACC, right? Like, I'm not shocked if Carolina or Virginia or Miami make it.
4, 3,
The other,
2,
I would be.
Here we go.
Hey.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Welcome back. We are back to the show. Kid Cudi playing us in tonight live on the Field of 68 After Dark. I'm Greg Waddell. We got Patric
senior in
Young.
high school when this came out.
We got Jim Root, and we are back in our feelings to the tune of Day and Night. Guys, Big 12 SEC Challenge this weekend. As I guess I shouldn't say bad, but as boring maybe of a slate as it was tonight and might be tomorrow night, we get a really, really exciting day of hoops this weekend. Let's start with Kansas, Kentucky. Pat, you've been teasing this all show long. I'm excited to hear where you're going with this. Are you really going to talk us into Kentucky stealing a game against Kansas here?
Are you sure you don't want to talk Texas Tech and LSU first? I think that is actually the game that everyone has circled on their calendar, and we can dive into that. I'm telling you, just 1 and 15 combined in conference play. Like, are you sure that's not what you game to watch?
There's some sickos out there that want that, Pat. Me personally, no, thank you.
He said he'd bring the shade later in the show, and it's out.
Man, just not. Yeah, it's going to move on from there. But this Kentucky team, ever since they lost, which is probably going to be South Carolina's only conference win, which I can't believe. Kentucky has completely flipped the script, and it was by default that Coach Cal had to, I say remove, but Xavier Wheeler was injured, and we got to understand that analytics wise, coaches have been in Coach Cal's ear saying, "Hey, with this lineup, we score, we defend better." But to a fault, loyalty to Xavier Wheeler, he has done nothing wrong. It's just you're an undersized point guard that can't shoot it, and you're fast. You're a single man press breaker. But let me tell you, Kentucky against Vandy this yesterday or Tuesday, whenever it was, that was the best basketball I've seen them play all year. Oscar did not need to go, and he can, but he did not have to have one of those Oscar Tshiebwe games where the ball was moving. There was patience in the offense, great shot selection. Defense wasn't elite. I want to see that get a little bit better. Antonio Reeves, CJ Frederick playing so well off of each other. Jacob Toppin playing his game. I don't know if someone had to tell him, stop taking long 2-point shots that are one step in from the 3-point line. Get to that elbow because you can knock down the shot. I just hate that shot for him because then it takes him away from being effective on the offensive rebound. I think Kentucky has found, and this is going to be the tell of a tape for them to solidify because Kentucky is much better than the 12 seed. They're much better. They've have Cason Wallace is off. He's one of the best freshmen in the country. I think especially with his catch and shoot 3-point ability. If they can stay healthy, CJ Frederick, man, it just seems like the kid just doesn't catch a break, man. Like he gets hurt so often. And he's such a good kid. Just hope that he can stay the course. But this is going to be, I remember what happened last year. We all can remember what happened last year when Kentucky came into Kansas last year. I don't know if you can, but it was a beating. There should be some blood in the mouths of Kansas Jayhawk fans coming into Rupp Arena. But I think this game just means too much for Kentucky. And this is going to be Bill Self's first 4-game losing streak in his tenure.
Oh, you stole my stat. No one else is going to say that about this game. Bill Self's never lost 4 in a row at Kansas, but I was going to sneak that in there. No, it's a couple stats in Kentucky. 4 straight games now in their winning streak. They've held every opponent to 1-point possession or less. And Cal's talked about how much better Livingston and Reeves have gotten on defense. I think that matters a lot. And then this is Cal's best 3-point shooting team since 2012, which you may remember won a national title. Pretty good team.
I remember them all too well.
I bet that one rings true a little bit for you.
That hurt.
That said, I think Kansas wins here, actually. It just kind of feels like, Greg, we've watched a lot of basketball. It's a gambling thing. You're a little buy low, sell high. Yep. Everybody's loving Kentucky's rise. Everybody's throwing Kansas in the trash. I think we see a little bit of revenge. As Pat said, you remember when you lost at home by 18, as they did last time. I think we get a little bit better Kansas effort. Hopefully my guy Harris figures it out. More points and turnovers would be a really nice change of pace for him. But I like Kansas here. I think they're able to limit Sheboy on the glass, and Wilson has a really, really big game.
Jim, can we play a quick guess the lines live? Not to go full Bill Simmons on you, but KenPom has Kentucky favored by 1 in this game. If you get Kansas +1, you're going to have to talk me out of taking a sizable loan out and heading over to my friends at Bet Rivers on that one.
Oh, I won't talk you out of it. I think people are buying the trajectory of Kentucky right now, so I think they'll be favored. And I think you and I will both be on the Jayhawks as an underdog.
Oh, I love a squad ride, but that scares me.
With how Harris is reeling right now, you put Cason Wallace on him and guard him 90 feet just the whole game. Get up in him. Make him uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly could see that happening. 2 of the best coaches in the business should lead to a very, very exciting game for all. We are about to wrap the show here. In the afters, we will talk about Texas and Tennessee and Arkansas and Baylor. But first, we do want to send our condolences to ACC Network's Mark Packer and his entire family. Mark's father, Billy, passed away today at the age of 82. Packer was a legendary college basketball broadcaster with NBC and CBS. He worked 34 Final Fours. He worked every Final Four from John Wooden's last time in 1975 until Bill Self's first championship with Kansas in 2008. Condolences to the entire Packer family. For Jim, for Patrick, I'm Greg Waddell. We'll see you next time on the Field of 68 After Dark.
Nice job. Clear.
All right, boys. Sad note to end the show, but certainly felt obligated to mention it. We did not get to Texas and Tennessee, as well as Arkansas and Baylor. Let's do just a quick round the horn pulse check for any SEC fans that are sticking with us live on the afters now that we are into the afters portion of the show. Tennessee in play for a 1 seed. Texas right now on the 2 seed line. 2 great orange teams. I love an orange on orange matchup. Jim, are you excited for this one?
I am, because I had been selling a lot of Texas stock since the Beard stuff broke, and they had been kind of underperforming expectations, but the last 2 have been really good. Their talent is still quite high, and Tennessee has made a living like crushing bad teams. I believe they're tied with Houston for the most 25-point wins in the country this year, but Texas is going to play with them the whole way. I think this one's going to be close. If I'm looking at it from a betting lens, I will probably be on the Longhorns if they're getting over a touchdown, like 8 points or so.
Yeah.
But Pat, I think this is going to be a great one. Maybe the best of the challenge.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great one. My only issue with Tennessee, because they are a clinical team. Everyone plays their role really well. It's usually very well balanced. Defensively, they are number 2 team defensively in the country, right behind Houston. I just worry, like, who is that guy for Tennessee to go? Because I think Rick Barnes has coached his guys up so well to strive to make the right play. But who's the game breaker? Who's the guy? Because it's not Vescovi. It's the guy Ziegler. He's undersized. He can get his shot off. Olivier Kamwa, he can shoot it. He's kind of, everyone kind of just stays in their lane, which is not a bad thing. I just don't know if it's enough for them to come in, solidify their spot as a 1 seed. I don't think it's enough to be that team. If they win, if Tennessee can win a game like this and a few more, this is as of now, Tennessee and Alabama projected as 1 seeds. 2 SEC teams have never been 1 seeds going into the tournament. So I think Tennessee at home, Tennessee takes this one, but it's going to be a dogfight.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see this game. A resume win for either side for sure. Tennessee, I mean, that defense is so legit. It's hard to be skeptical of a team that good defensively. I think I could probably posture up skepticism when it comes to the NCAA tournament. You can nitpick certain elements of their rotation, but as far as like who's most likely to get a 1 seed, it's hard to look past what this group is going to do for Rick Barnes this year.
Still can't believe they got killed by Colorado.
Yeah, weird, right? So early, though. So early that it feels like one of those results you just sweep under the rug. And, we mentioned it briefly on this show, but we don't ever want to dive too deep into that one, Pat. That didn't happen. The other one I mentioned briefly, Arkansas and Baylor. Good game. Pat, you're rolling your eyes at Arkansas. You think this team might miss
he already
the
shoved
tournament?
them down a well. Yeah, he's out on Arkansas.
I'm just not sold on Devo Davis. And I like Devo. I just don't think he's going to be enough to help this team score enough points. There's a few SEC teams that are just not, they're easily going to walk in and win those games. I think Arkansas, they're 3-5 in the league right now. They'll barely finish above 500. I hope I'm wrong. I love Coach Muss. I think he's a great in-game coach and does the best he can. But without Nick Smith Jr., really hope he can get out there. I'll change my opinion if he gets out there. But Ricky Council Jr. can't do it on his own. Devo, he'll give you a good game here and there, but where else is the offense going to come from?
That team's kind of not easy to scheme is unfair, but you zone them and you force them to kind of live in the perimeter in the mid-range, and they just really struggle to punish you. They play in transition. My God, they're lethal. But
absolutely,
if you slow them down and force them to execute in the half court against a set defense, it's been a lot tougher going for them. And Baylor's defense isn't good, but I think they'll at least have a nice scheme for how to handle them.
Yeah, Arkansas, they don't rebound. Last year, what kept them in a lot of games too was their offensive rebounding ability, and I just don't see it. Just don't see that level of grit and toughness to just go and get the doggone ball because I want it more than you type attitude. Don't see it.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I was going to play devil's advocate here and just go through in this poor stretch for Arkansas. Not a ton of losses that I would raise an eyebrow at, other than obviously LSU. You play them anywhere at this point.
Yeah.
That should be a win. That's bad. But after that, on the road at LSU, you had at Auburn, home to Alabama, who's been the best team in the country the last 2 weeks until last night, at Vanderbilt, and then at Missouri. I mean, 4 road games and the team that's playing the best in the country. I don't know. You want to see them win at least 1, maybe 2 of those, but nothing that would like be season bending to me and how I view this team. The problem is you look ahead for this team. Guys, listen to the games Arkansas still has on the schedule: at Baylor, at Kentucky, at Texas A&M, at Alabama, at Tennessee in the final month and a half.
Maybe that's right. Maybe he's right.
I mean, that's just a crazy sequence. They can't afford to drop anything outside of that group.
Then you got Kentucky again in the season.
Yeah. Brutal. Right now, Ken Pom has Arkansas's projected record 20-11, 9-9 in SEC play. I would certainly think they're in the NCAA tournament very safely with that record, but I think Pat's assessment that they could miss it might be closer than we think. Let's flip it quickly, and then we'll take some questions from the chat. Why aren't more people talking about Baylor? Why aren't we on here talking about Baylor every single night on After Dark right now? This team's playing great right now, right, Jim?
Yeah, I adore Baylor. Loved them preseason. Still think the backcourt's like top 3 or 5 in the country, and maybe closer to 1 than it is to 5. But the defense is really bad, and we spent a whole season last year kind of punching holes in Purdue's resume because of their defense. And I think we probably have to do the same with Baylor. Their 2-point percentage in league play is 56% on defense. Like it's nearly a layup line. It's a problem. But they need to get maybe Jonathan Chamu returns and gives them that extra element of physicality in the paint. But they're capable of outscoring just about anybody, and I think they've got a pretty high ceiling.
Do we know where Jonathan is in his as of now? Is projecting to get back?
He warmed up and was like kind of bouncing around, but he wasn't like dressed. He just kind of looked like, oh, okay, he's moving around, he's athletic. I don't know if he's actually going to come back this year. We'll see.
Yeah, that feels like one a lot of people have sort of buzzed around, and you really hope that it happens both for Baylor and just for the kid himself. But the more it drags on, the more skeptical that me speaking for myself is that this might actually happen. The one thing I would just add, we're talking all this bracketology here. Potentially Arkansas could miss the tournament. We said Tennessee's on the 1 line right now. Texas playing for a 2. One of the best places that you could possibly learn about bracketology, Fielding the 68, our network's very own bracketology show. Every Monday, every Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, we've got an elite group of bracketologists who come in, rotate as guests, and break everything down for us. We've got 4 gentlemen who give us their individual brackets. We consolidate it. We make a consensus Field of 68 bracket that you can see on our social media channels every Monday and Friday. And Jim, you're hosting that show tomorrow, I believe, correct?
Sure am. Yeah, excited to talk bracketology. Is my first college hoops love, just nerding out with big wins, bad losses, all that stuff. And we've got some really, really smart minds that do it way better than I do. So excited to dive into that.
It should be fun. All right, Dagan, welcome back. What do we got going on in the chat? Anything good?
Let's do it. Yes, we do. Jacob wants to know, we were talking Big 12 SEC Challenge. We've got a Florida guy on here. So I want to get your thoughts on Florida, Kansas State on Saturday. The Gators got any chance?
No.
Fair enough.
Sorry if I seem distracted. I'm trying to do my math and what my prediction of Arkansas's actual record might be, and I'm willing to.
I love the dedication.
I'm really committed to seeing how this is going to go.
All right, fine. Well, while you're doing that, we'll come back to you.
And saying they're going 18-13.
Listen, Dagan, I haven't seen somebody hate Arkansas more since Brett Bielema. I mean, this is insane.
Is this why you're blocked from him on Twitter?
I had to get that shot in. You knew that, right?
No, but in all seriousness, I really hope Keontae Johnson goes for 35. And nothing against Florida. Just this game just means too much. Kansas State's too dynamic. Florida's looked a lot better. I just don't think they have enough. Colin Castleton has to be a dog every single night, and it's just not going to be enough against this explosive offense of Kansas State.
Pat, what about? I mean, I just want to dive a little deeper into the element of Johnson against his old team here, right? It's a home game for him now at Kansas State. I imagine that would feel a little different than if he actually had to go back to Gainesville. But from what you know of Keontae, what's this going to be like for him?
I mean, Keontae, he has been so, and for everyone that's listening, please watch the story that Jeff Goodman has pinned to his Twitter at the top, with diving into Keontae's journey and getting back to basketball and turning down the $5 million to play. But Keontae, when every chance that I got to interact with him throughout this time, you could not wipe the smile off this kid's face. The gratitude, the vision, the belief, the faith that he has walked in with. There's no animosity between him and the program. He is just so grateful and thankful to be out there and just doing his thing. And it looks like he hasn't skipped a beat. I mean, he's always been a player that it looks as though the game comes so easy to him. But that's not the case. The kid has worked his behind off. He's a winner coming from Oak Hill. This game is going to just mean so much to him, in the sense of, just this whole season has meant much to him, but playing against his old team, getting a chance to get that dub, makes your Gator fans see what they could have had, I guess you could say. But I can't even imagine being in his shoes. He's an inspiration to me, and I hope everyone can see that this is one of the best stories in sports for a long time.
Absolutely. And I can echo your sentiments on Jeff's piece with him. Must watch for any college basketball fans, let alone Florida, Kansas State fans, anywhere. Dagan, what else we got?
We're going to keep it with the alumni theme, and I'm going to go here quickly. I'm going to keep this real short. Yuli wants to know who wins Butler-Seton Hall on Saturday. Yuli, Seton Hall wins on Saturday. Now to the real question. We're going to flip it to Jim. Missouri, Iowa State. What are your thoughts?
Biased fan helmet on, Mizzou by 50 with their Block M uniforms that they're bringing back. But actually being a rational analyst here, I think Mizzou's going to struggle with the physicality, the size that Iowa State has, the offensive rebounding. Like that's been an issue all season for Mizzou, and Iowa State brings it every night. I'm concerned. I think the atmosphere will play up and it'll be at least a decent game, not an Alabama or Kansas-esque blowout, but I'm worried.
Is it in Mizzou? Is it in Como?
Yeah, at Columbia.
Well, I'm sure you saw what Mizzou did to Ole Miss the other day.
Make that many threes and we got a game.
I was going to say, does that not kind of compel you to maybe say,
And Iowa State gives up a ton of threes. They force you out there.
They made 9 in the first half, and they averaged, 7 for a game. And my point was, in that game, this is how Missouri has played this way all season. Even this little skid that they had, they still have gotten up the same number, and the looks were good. The ball just wasn't dropping for them, and they've been competitive. So, I mean, Demoy Hodge has been fantastic this year. Kobe Brown shooting the three. There's an opportunity, but to your point, I think how you beat this Missouri team is just with the toughness of Iowa State. Just you punch first, and you don't stop punching until the clock runs out.
I can tell you right now, I got 36 hours left until I'm going to have to make a decision on this. But I'm going to talk myself all the way in to Missouri because of that 3-point stat. Iowa State gives up a ton of them. Missouri wants to shoot them. I did that a couple of days ago in Penn State Rutgers. I said, rack voodoo, that's not real. Rutgers gives up a bunch of threes. Penn State wants to shoot. They were like 3 for 30 on wide open threes in that game. I'm just saying. But I will talk myself into it myself.
Right? Oh, man. All right, I have another question. This one's from Rob. Our wonderful leader here at the Field of 68.
From Rob,
but he didn't put it in the chat. He didn't put it in the chat. He's using his. He texted it to me on the side, so it didn't get lost.
New phone, do
that. All right, so this one's for Jim. This one's for you, Jim. Get ready.
Oh God.
Here his exact thing. Jim hated Creighton early in the year. They struggled early, but have won 6 of 8 and are 12th in KenPom despite missing calc for 2 weeks. Where do you stand on them now?
I think Creighton rocks. Like, I really do. I'm sure people are going to be like, oh, you're two-faced because you didn't like them early. I just thought everyone didn't have to rank them top 5 early. And that's looked fine. Like, they didn't have to be automatic top 5. But to be ranked where they are analytically when you go through a stretch without your best player, I think that's really impressive. They're a really high-ceiling team when they make shots. They're kind of streaky from the perimeter. But I think they're really good, and it's like kind of a team I'm buying at this point.
Wow. Is part of that just shot making? Because I know it was like not enough shooting was one of your things, and Alexander's been really good.
Yeah, they're like, I haven't gone through every team with this, but they have like half their games they shoot over 45% from 3, and half they shoot under 25. Like they don't have a lot of just like we shoot a normal, reasonable, competent percentage. It's like they're hot or they're ice cold, and they, the performances align very directly to those percentages.
What's their ceiling?
Final 4, I think, for sure.
Okay.
I've loved Kalkbrenner since the beginning. Like that, he makes everything sustainable for them.
He does.
He's there defending the rim, and he's shooting like 70% from the field. Like, and
absolutely.
then you just build out from there.
If you were taking one Big East team, let's all answer this. Who is it?
To watch, Marquette.
I'll keep quiet. I'll keep quiet over here.
Dang, that's a great question.
To make the run in March, because you could talk yourself into UConn, you could talk yourself into Xavier, you could talk yourself into Creighton. There's probably others that I wouldn't roll my eyes at. Who would it be?
I'll say Creighton. I just think the defenses on Marquette and Xavier are a little bit worrisome, and UConn, I still have questions with the guard play, the backcourt primary creators. Creighton's actually, I think, the highest ceiling team in that league right now.
Wow,
man. I'm going to go with Xavier.
They play on Saturday. That'll be a good one.
Yeah, they do play on Saturday. Oh man, I hate. Why'd you ask that question? Can we all just have? Can we all win?
Can we all get along? Participation
just-
trophies galore here at the Field of
Don't make me
68 After
choose.
Dark. Nothing wrong with it. For the record, my answer is also Xavier. I am worried about the defense, but I am not worried about that backcourt. Sule Bloom and Colby Jones. I love them so much. Ugh, good team. Good team. Anything else, Dagan, before we get to toast?
No, I'll let you guys take it to toasts.
Beautiful. Let's do it. All right. Toast of the night around the horn. Any figure, any person, any player, coach, whatever you want. PY, let's go to you first. Who you toasting to?
How do I have to go first? Okay. Dusty May. 19 in a row. FAU. Best start in program history. Really should be 20-0. The game they lost didn't have the best score. FAU. A team that is dominating the sport of the basketball right now, and I can't wait to see how far they end up going.
Cheers to Dusty May.
Dusty. Cheers.
Well, that's why you get to go first, because no one takes your answer like you did with me. You took mine. Yeah,
Was that your answer?
It was just FAU in general. I love watching that team play. You got 7 guys that make threes and can create for themselves, and then 2 dominant centers. Like, I don't know what more you want out of a team. All right, if I'm going to audible quick, I'll go Oregon. Dana Altman. They lost N'Faly Dante in pregame warmups, and they still took care of Colorado. I thought that was pretty impressive. Dante's a big part of that team, both offensively and defensively, with his size and activity level. So to lose that like right before the game and adapt and still get a solid win, Oregon's starting to come on a little bit, playing a lot better of late. So to Dana Altman and the Ducks. Cheers.
To Dana. Cheers. Jim, that was a beautiful audible, by the way. That was looking like Aaron Rodgers at the line right there. It was really, really nice, my friend.
It's looking like Jordan Love at the line, man.
Oh. All right. I said I have to do it, so I'm going to do it. By the way, if I was going to toast to someone from tonight, it would be the Spartans. So I'm drinking out of a Michigan State cup for the record. But I owe this to Todd Golden. Todd, I'm sorry. I doubted you. I questioned you. I antagonized you. I made this a war, you versus me. You have no idea who I am, but I've laughed at your downfalls for the last month and a half. I have danced on your grave every time your team has lost a game. I've said you don't run offense. You've got nothing besides great quotes about analytics that barely make any sense. And I'm here to say, Todd, I was wrong. You are the golden boy. I am impressed by the way your team has come together. I am impressed by PY's own Gators. And I think your ceiling is much higher than I ever wanted to give you credit for this season. To you, Todd Golden.
Thank you. I'm saying thank you for him. He appreciates that.
You're welcome.
Greg, you should have waited till after the next 4 games and seen where they were at, because their 4-game stretch is like as hard as it gets in the entire country.
This is perfect timing, though. He does it before, and then he can go back to his normal old take.
That
was perfect. Perfect, Greg.
Hey, flip-flopping? Me? Never, Dagan. Never. Come on.
They got to take 2 of those. They need 2 of those for sure.
Yep.
All right, gentlemen, this was an absolute blast. Thank you to everybody who was rocking with us in the chat mob. We appreciate you. This was the Field of 68 After Dark. We do this every single night during college basketball season. Dagan, do we have a show tomorrow? We're back Saturday, I believe, right?
Yes, we do not have a show tomorrow.
We're back Saturday. I'm glad that I asked for producer Dagan, for Jim Root, for Patric Young. I am Greg Waddell, and we will see you Saturday after a great day of college basketball here on the Field of 68 After Dark.